Why is it so difficult to get a U.S. visa?
That's a very good question. U.S. visa decisions are based upon U.S. law and regulation. And it's very important to remember that a visa is a privilege and not a right. And what that means, an applicant must demonstrate that they meet all the qualification criteria for the visa, and many people don't, and therefore the visa has to be denied. In addition, there are many people who do not comply with the terms of their visas, and it is a priority of President Trump's administration that we're going to enforce U.S. border security and U.S. immigration and visa compliance. And so what does that mean? Well, we have information, we have data on how many people have not complied with the terms of their visa, and we use that information to apply it towards future visa decisions. And for example, for Kenyan nationals, Kenyan citizens, we know there is a public report that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection released in 2025, and so these statistics are for 2024, but 9% of Kenyans with tourist visas and approximately 13% of Kenyans with student visas did not comply with the terms of those visas. So we use that information and we apply it towards our decisions that we do today. So the message is everyone must comply with the terms of their visa, because if you don't, there may be repercussions. As you've seen in the news, there are certain countries in the region that have visa suspensions, or there may be visa bonds. And that's information that the U.S. government is looking at all the time to see what countries and their citizens that are complying with the terms of their visas.
What type of visa do you process here in Nairobi?
Thank you for that question. Here in Nairobi, we process all the types of visas that the U.S. government provides. And we have two main categories of visas. One is what we call a non-immigrant visa, and that would include your tourist visas for short visits to the United States, student visas for studying in the United States, and business travel visas as well. In addition, we process immigrant visas, which are your visas for family reunification. A family member in the United States files for family members to join them. And then under limited circumstances, we also have certain types of work visas that employers in the United States would start that process on behalf of the applicant. So an applicant can't just come in and apply for a work visa. That all has to be done through an employer in the United States.
My application for a visa was refused. Why can't I get a refund?
So under U.S. regulation, the fee that an applicant pays for, we call it the MRV fee, that is an application fee. It is required, it's mandatory that the applicant pay it before they can ever be interviewed or apply for the visa. And that fee covers the cost of the resources in order to adjudicate and review the case and conduct the interview. So per U.S. regulation, that fee cannot be refunded, and it's not a fee that an applicant is paying for the visa, it's for the opportunity to have an interview and submit their application.
The fees are so high. Is America getting rich off our visa fees?
No. As I explained on why the fee can't be refunded, the same fee is set worldwide. So an applicant in Kenya or an applicant in Ethiopia, they're all going to pay the same fee. And that fee is a cost of service fee. So it's how much the service that we provide for adjudicating that visa application. And under U.S. law, I'll just reiterate, we cannot refund that fee.
If someone keeps having their visa application denied, why is it so? And should they keep applying?
That's a very good question, and thank you, because this is a common occurrence that we see. And so we'll take the example of a tourist visa to the United States or a student visa is another good example. And what we find is that applicants either have misinformation from rumor mill on the street, which is inaccurate, and they believe that if they keep trying to get the visa, that maybe they might qualify. What we advise applicants is to think very carefully about reapplying, because there is an application fee that they must pay each time to make that application. And the reality is, unless their circumstances have changed drastically or they really have significant different information since their last application, they're unlikely to get a different decision. They can reapply, and we will certainly adjudicate their case. But if an applicant's been refused several times, I would caution them, and they really need to think carefully about that reapplication.
And why are the interviews so short?
So a consular officer is required to adjudicate a case and make a decision in a relatively short period for non-immigrant type visas, and these are your tourist visas, your student visas, exchange visitor visas, because there are so many people that are applying. So for customer service, right now we have approximately a 2-month wait time. So to keep that wait time to a reasonable level and let other people apply, we have to get through the application in a very prompt manner. And it's not only the interview. When an applicant walks up to the interview window, that consular officer already has a lot of information. We have information from the passport. We have information that the applicant completed in their application form. And the applicant better make certain that that information is correct, because if we find any fraud, not only will the visa be denied, but they may end up with a permanent ban that they will not be able to travel to the United States.
What is a visa refusal?
So visa refusal can mean different things, and we will, the officer, the adjudicating officer, at the conclusion of the interview will notify the applicant orally and in writing for what section of law that their visa is being denied under. If we take the example of tourist and student visas, there is a presumption of immigrant intent or a presumption that the applicant does not qualify for the visa given their circumstances. And that's what the officer, when they conduct the interview and they review that application, that's what they are considering. So a visa denial in many circumstances is the applicant may not overcome that presumption of immigrant intent, or the officer is not satisfied that they're going to comply with the terms of their visa when they enter the United States. Other visa denials may be because of missing information or documentation. If there is something missing, the applicant will be told specifically what it is.
I heard there is a limit to the number of visas you can do in a day. Is that true?
Thank you for that question, and that is categorically false. That is not true. And this is one of those rumors that's out there that sometimes visa vendors may, it's in their interest to sort of spread such rumors. Each visa application is adjudicated on its individual merits according to U.S. law. And so there's no quota, there's no certain number. We look at each applicant as an individual, that specific application, and the adjudicator will make the decision based upon that applicant's individual circumstances in accordance with law and regulation.
Can I use a visa agent, vendor, or like a service to help me with my application?
So there's travel agents, there's visa agents, there are legitimate service providers that help applicants to fill out their application. Maybe an applicant may not be that good at the internet. So there are legitimate service providers that help an applicant with this service. We caution, however, visa applicants that to use visa vendors at your own risk. And the reason is there are also many visa agents or visa vendors who engage in misleading practices or actual fraudulent practices. The visa applicant is an individual. They are responsible for the information that's contained in their application. So when that visa agent is helping them complete that application, it's very important that the applicant ensure that all the information is correct. In addition, sometimes unscrupulous visa agents spread some of these myths about the visa process because they get to charge you a fee every time they complete an application on your behalf. So it's in their interest for you to keep applying. And that may be based on one of those myths that if you reapply more, you might get the visa. We make visa decisions based upon whether or not the applicant is found eligible under U.S. law.
If someone is not a Kenyan, but they live in Kenya, can they apply for a visa here?
Nairobi is a big city, and there are lots of third country nationals, a lot of other people in Nairobi and in Kenya, and we will accept applications from anyone who is lawfully present in Nairobi, but you have to, or within Kenya, but you have to have some evidence of your legal residency here. So that is either a work permit or something of that nature, to where the Kenyan government has provided you with residency status, and then you can apply here at U.S. Embassy for a U.S. visa.
Is the diversity visa program happening this year? Because I heard even if I win, I won't get a visa.
So the diversity visa program is currently on pause. That's on our website, information about that pause. We are continuing to interview applicants. We are continuing to consider their cases. We do not know when the pause is going to be lifted, and the Department of State will announce that information publicly when such a decision may be made.
Where is the best place to get visa information?
Two really good sources for accurate information about the U.S. visa process. One would be travel.state.gov, which is a State Department website with general information about visas. And then more specific information for about the visa process here in Kenya would be the U.S. Embassy Nairobi website. And I think we'll probably post that on this video.